A pleasant good morning from Royal Communications Incorporated. Welcome to King's News Broom. 45 minutes of accurate, balanced, incredible news about Liberia and the rest of our one word. Today is Wednesday, July 30th, 2025. My name is Cornelius Johnson presenting Story Tapping the headlines. Jeremy Pia warns that's Information Minister Jeremy Pia warns citizens against ungodly acts and alcohol drinking during today's National Fasting and Praying Day. Says the day must be used to reflect and pray for the nation. Several tricyclists and motorcyclists across Montserrado backed protests of dozens of commercial drivers against alleged police on unnecessary ticketing and government 25 years deal with Liberia Traffic Management. Motorcyclists and Tricyclists Union chairperson Anzu Zeze accuses police officers of harassment. Authorities of Guinea reportedly banished schools of Liberians for allegedly refusal to accept Guinean citizenship. Away from Liberia, U.S. singer Ciara has become one of the first public figures to be granted citizenship of Benin under a new law offering nationality to the descendants of slaves. And police in Angola say 4 people have been killed and 500 have been arrested after demonstrations in the capital, Luanda. The news bulletin voices of the newsmakers are all packaged in this early morning edition of the program. We take a very short break to be right back. Thanks for being there and welcome back. Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, Jeremy Matthew Pia, has warned Liberians against alcohol drinking on today, Wednesday, July 30, a day declared as National Fasting and Praying Day by President Joseph Boakai. Addressing Mika press briefing on Tuesday, Minister Pia noted that the president's declared national holiday should not be used to party or do ungodly things, but rather to be used to reflect and pray for the nation and its people. According to him, the day is set aside for national prayer, emphasizing that all businesses, government, and private institutions must be shut down to all citizens remain in their respective communities to observe national fasting and praying. The Information Minister session followed a proclamation issued by President Joseph Boakai on Monday, declaring Wednesday as a national fasting and praying day to be observed throughout the country. In the proclamation, President Boakai called on all Liberians to submit themselves in humble supplications to the Almighty God for guidance and protections, as well as for the peace in their national life and affairs. Meanwhile, several Liberians, including socialists, have expressed disappointment in the information minister. They accuse him of branding Liberians as drunkards who do not honor or acknowledge God in their daily lives. The National Motorcyclists and Tricyclists Union of Liberia has sharply condemned what it describes as ongoing harassments of riders by officers of the Liberia National Police. Reading the press statement on Tuesday, Motorcyclists and Tricyclists Union chairperson Anzu Sese cited excessive ticketing and enforcement of no-go zones as unjust and economically harmful to both motorcyclists and tricyclists who are immensely contributing to the economy of the country. Sese noted that motorcyclists and tricyclists will stage a week-long peaceful go-slow action if the government fails to address their concerns with immediate effect. The chairperson of the Motorcyclists and Tricyclists Union also demanded the Inspector General of Police, Colonel Gregory Coleman, to cancel all no-go zone placed on both motorcyclists and tricyclists within Montserrado or face unspecified action. Zeze added that the restriction and no-go zone placed on both motorbike and tricycle riders are not only unjustified but are deeply affecting the livelihoods of thousands of Liberians who depend on motorcycle and tricycles for daily income. He also called on the 55th Legislature and the Ministry of Justice to terminate contracts awarded to the Liberia Traffic Management and return all traffic-related issues to the Ministry of Transport. Authorities of Guinea have reportedly banished several persons believed to be Liberians from the country over claims of refusing to accept Guinean citizenship. The banished individuals are said to be found across villages and towns in Lofa County. On Tuesday, they told local journalists that although they had lived in Guinea for more than 2 decades, they were forced by the country authorities to leave and resettle in Lofa County. One of the returnees, named Emmanuel Johnson, disclosed several other people are being compelled to leave the country after establishing strong roots, including owning farms and businesses. He noted that those being expelled are Liberians who fled to Guinea in 2002 during Liberia's civil conflict. Johnson stated that although they were resettled in Guinea in 2007 following support from the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, and they were given legal status to live in Guinea, adding that they have been living there peacefully. Following months of silence over his suspension from government, former Commissioner General of the Liberia Immigration Service has blamed the Minister of Local Government and the National Security Advisor to the President for his indefinite suspension and subsequent removal. The former LIS boss was announced suspended by the executive mansion for 3 months, but has since been replaced with little or nothing known regarding investigative finding that prompted his removal from the position. Speaking on the local radio in Vonjima, Lofa County, Monday, Zarko said he is tired being used as a sacrificial lamb under the doctrine of tradition, which calls for nephews to unconditionally and unquestionably respect their uncles. According to him, although his suspension letter did not specify any specific offense or violation he committed, he believes Internal Affairs Minister Francis Yumale and Presidential Advisor Samuel Kofi Woods masterminded his removal. He further accused the Internal Affairs Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Sylvester Grisby, and Samuel Kofi Woods of plotting his removal as means of strangulation. He alleged that Yumale and other top officials, Sylvester Grisby and Samuel Kofi Woods, have hijacked the office of the president and are making decisions about who works in the government and who does not. The commissioning ceremony of the confirmed Chief Justice Yamin Kwekwe is reportedly scheduled for 18 or 19 of August 2025 at the Executive Mansion. Justice Bweze commission ceremony, according to courtroom sources, was previously scheduled for July 23, 2025, but was abruptly postponed by the executive mansion to avoid what they call constitutional crisis. Our judicial correspondent said that following his commissioning ceremony, a special session will be held in the chamber of the Supreme Court for the confirmed Chief Justice sitting as head of the judiciary. But before Justice Bweze sitting, even the outgoing Chief Justice Yanin Yo will officially close the March term of court on August 15, 2025, which will end her 3 year tenure at the judiciary. Before the closing, even the court is expected to render opinions in a number of cases on August 13 and 14, 2025. Justices of the Supreme Court are currently writing opinions to enable them meet their court's closing deadline. The court closing event will be done in two phases: the closing ceremony in the chamber of the Supreme Court that will witness Justice Yu leaving the Chief Justice chair, and later her retirement ceremony, which will be held at the ground floor of the Capitol, that's at the Temple of Justice. Justice Xianen Yu, who has since reached the retirement age of 70 on June 26, 2025, consistent with Article 72B of the 1986 Constitution. Former Deputy Minister of Public Works Joseph Todd has criticized government call for a national day of fasting and praying, labeling it as a deflection from the urgent political and social issues affecting the country. In a strong worded statement released on his social media page Tuesday, former Minister Todd questioned the sincerity and purpose of the government's spiritual campaign, pointing to what he described as clear signs of misgovernance, systematic injustice, and administrative hypocrisy. He challenged the government use of religious symbolism in the midst of widespread hardship and unrest. He outlined a range of policy decisions and unresolved crises that, in his view, require leadership and accountability, not systematic or symbolic rituals. He cited the controversial move to outsource critical functions of the Ministry of Transport to a foreign firm on a 20-year agreement, describing the deal as painless and a threat to the livelihoods of Liberians. Referring to the labor unrest at the new Liberty gold mine, to question the need for divine intervention to understand the injustice of violence against citizens protesting for basic labor rights in Kinjor. He also condemned the alleged public beating of a woman advocating for a review of a concession agreement, highlighting the defining silence of human rights organizations in the aftermath. The vice president for technical services at the National Oil Company of Liberia says the country needs institutional builders that will build the country and institution through education and ideas. Rick Bazigia emphasized the need for Liberia to invest in its human capital, particularly the younger generation, to secure a prosperous future for the country. According to him, the strength of any country lies in its people, and Liberia is no exception, but urged them to invest in the youth and prepare them to become professionals who will transform the country. He made the call that programs marking the 16th graduation ceremony and 18th closing exercises of the Kola Foundation Institute in Pinsville on Tuesday. Also speaking, Chief Executive Officer of the Kola Foundation, Martin Kola, urged parents to instill moral discipline and values in their children, stressing that character formation begins at home. Kola noted that children are investments of their parents, and as such, parents should not fail to discipline and guide them. He warned that the future of Liberia is at a crossroad, calling on both parents and educational institutions to play their roles in shaping the next generation, maintaining that a better and brighter future of Liberia starts with discipline, moral integrity, and education. About 230 Liberian citizens from various government ministries and agencies have completed a day-long orientation for jury service. The 230 Liberian citizens, who are referred to as prospective jurors, completed orientation ceremony on Friday, July 24, 2025, and are expected to serve jurors during the pending August term of court. During Friday's day-long event, according to our judicial correspondent, they were warned by authority of the jury management of office of the judiciary not to get involved in juror tampering, saying that the role is to look at the facts during litigation and determine the matter fairly consistent with law. They were selected from various government ministries and agencies in Mosrata County to serve as prospective jurors for the August term of court. Councillor Ali Salif, head of the jury management office at the judiciary, said the just ended gathering is a regular event, saying that Friday's turnout was encouraging compared to previous event. Our judicial correspondent further said the objectives of the jurors' orientation is to educate the prospective jurors about the duty and role of jurors during litigation. As the International Maritime Organization prepares for what is believed to be a critical council elections in December, Liberia permanent representative to the IMO, Ambassador Robert Quade, says Liberia needs the support of fellow IMO member states to secure a seat for another 2-year term. In an interview Tuesday, Ambassador Quade reaffirmed the country's readiness to retain a seat, highlighting diplomatic achievements, regional leadership, and the strategic role of maritime governance in global trade. He described the country's re-election campaign launched in May as immensely successful, citing robust turnout from member states, ambassadors, and maritime trade stakeholders. The Liberian diplomat said Liberia is the only African country currently holding seat in Category A, the top tier of the IMO Council, which includes world's most influential maritime nations. The country's special representative to the IMO lauded his team diplomatic outreach for strengthening Liberia's IMO standing, especially regular bilateral engagements and active participation in technical committees meeting, which he said solidified Liberia's reputation as a constructive and credible maritime player. Meanwhile, Ambassador Kwade disclosed that Liberia is expected to host the International Maritime Organization Council Regional Summit, which, according to him, brings together over 40 African countries from September 30 to October 4, 2025. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in collaboration with the Liberia Revenue Authority, has disclosed that Liberia has been appointed to the United Nations Committee of Experts on International Cooperation in Tax Matters. A release issued on Tuesday noted that Darlington Talare, a tax policy specialist, former commissioner of domestic tax at the Liberia Revenue Authority and current head of the Department of Domestic Resource Mobilization at the ECOWAS Commission, will represent Liberia on the 25-member committee. According to the release, members appointed by the United Nations Secretary General for 4 years term ending June 30, 2029 were selected from 58 global nominations. The release quoted Foreign Minister Cyril Bleslo Nyanti as saying the inclusion of Liberia in globally significant committees sends a clear message about the capacity, credibility, and growing influence of Liberia's public institutions. And the executive director of the National Rehabilitation for Drugs and War-Affected Persons has forwarded a couple to the West Point Magisterial Court for allegedly giving a dangerous substance known as coach to a 19-year-old boy, which resulted to his death. Retired Colonel Augustine Nangwe told reporters that through the assistance of residents, he apprehended the couple identified as Jerry Colley and Titi Cephas after they drug the victim, identified as Freedom Jalai, to a popular ghetto known as Trenchtown, located at the PHP Park. According to him, based on his security background, he was tipped off and rushed to the scene and later apprehended the couple. The retired colonel disclosed that the 19-year-old boy was ongoing rehabilitation at his center, but left to greet his relatives during the July 26th celebration. The news bulletin will take a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you developments on the program. Indeed, if you're just joining us, it's a reminder you are in tune to King's News Bomb, 45 minutes of accurate, balanced, incredible news about Liberia and the rest of our one world. Today is Wednesday, July 30, 2025. My name is Cornelius Johnson, presenting one of our top stories this morning. Authorities of Guinea reportedly banished schools of Liberians for alleged refusal to accept Guinean citizenship. Let's now bring you voices of the newsmakers. Today's development now. Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, Jolimi Matthew Pia, has warned Liberians against alcohol drinking on Wednesday, July 30, a day declared as National Fasting and Praying Day by President Joseph Boakai. Addressing Mika press briefing on Tuesday, Minister Pia noted that the president's declared national holiday should not be used to party or do ungodly things, but rather to be used to reflect and pray for the nation and its people. According to him, the date is set aside for national prayer, emphasizing that all businesses, government, and private institutions will be shut down to all citizens as they remain in their respective communities to observe national fasting and praying. Here now is Information Minister Jeremy Pia.
This day should be allowed to serve a purpose. It is not the time for all the big parties. The big parties all over the place. It is not the time, even though we all are sinners and falling short of the glory, and we drink the alcohol and do all the different things. This is not one of the days for massive alcohol consumption. It's a day of reflection for our nation to God. To pray. That's why it's the National Day of Prayer. And I would like to read a proclamation by the President. Whereas from the founding of our nation through seasons of trial and triumph, God has remained our guide in the source of our hope. And whereas there have been unusual and extraordinary outbreaks of natural phenomena and man-provoked national crises that have caused much harm, devastation, and destruction in many parts of the world, from which the grace of God has spared our nation. Whereas, with these conditions, I call on all Liberians to submit themselves in humble supplication to the Almighty God for guidance and protection, as well as for peace in their national life and affairs. And as we look to the future, let us embrace forgiveness of ourselves and one another. For it is only through reconciliation that we can fully heal and move forward as one people.
His Information Minister Jeremy Pial there warning Liberians against alcohol drinking on today, Wednesday, July 30, a day declared as National Fasting and Praying Day by President Joseph Boakai. The National Motorcyclists and Tricyclists Union of Liberia has sharply condemned what is described as ongoing harassment of riders by officers of the Liberia National Police. Reading a press statement on Tuesday, Motorcyclists and Tricyclists Union Chairperson Anzu Zize cited excessive ticketing and enforcement of no-go zones as unjust and economically harmful to both motorcyclists and tricyclists who are immensely contributing to the economy of the country. Zize noted that motorcyclists and tricyclists will stage a week-long peaceful go-slow action if the government fails to address their concerns with immediate effect. Here now is Anzu Zize.
Come with a heavy heart to speak to the media and to the world at large, to tell them what we as organization decide to do. If the government, we from the National Keke and Motorbike Riders Welfare and Advocates Organization of Liberia Latino, want to say we stand with all Keke and Motorbike Riders and the Drivers Union of Liberia concerning the constant harassment of traffic police officers using us unfair tickets, issue unfair tickets, serious harassment from the police officer. We want to say, we want to inform the IG to retrieve all his officers out of the street in 1 week, or else there will be a serious slow go action that will be taken from the cyclists, and this go for 1 week straight, 1 week. We also want to inform the Justice Ministry, the Liberia National Police, its IG, graduate government, and the Liberia House of Legislators to cancel session agreement between the government of Liberia and the Liberia Traffic Management, and return all vehicles and tricyclists, return all vehicle and tricyclists registration to Transport Ministry MOT. This is our message to the government. Please step in quick and listen to this release. And to the Inspector General of Police, this is a reminder to you to allow tricyclists and motorcyclists to return to where we used to go before, meaning cancel the entire no-go zone and allow us to freely move around all parts of the country. This is not an appeal. This is a demand from us to the government of Liberia, because we are tired of being suppressed in our own country, and we are calling on all ministers of Liberia to take a serious note of this press release.
His Anzu Zize, chairperson of the Motorcyclists and Tricyclists Union of Liberia, they're speaking. Following months of silence over his suspension from government, former Commissioner General of the Liberia Immigration Service has blamed the Minister of Local Government and the National Security Advisor to the President for his indefinite suspension and subsequent removal. The former LRS boss was announced suspended by the executive mansion for 3 months, but has since been replaced with little or nothing known regarding investigative findings that prompted his removal from the position. Speaking on a local radio in Vonchima, Lofa County, Zago said he He is tired being used as a sacrificial lamb under the doctrine of tradition, which calls for nephews to unconditionally and unquestionably respect their uncles. Here now is the former LRS boss, Steve Sago.
There's a misconception at the mansion, and one point around the misconception is confused. When my uncle wins the election, you will suffer. That is Francis Sakila Gimani to me, the guy like Gimani, who thought that Zago should not survive on this enrichment. Even while our immigration, he conducted himself in a way and manner that transgress our national security. It's an open secret in local Canada. Anything humanity tells the old man, that's it. Anything you say humanity tells the old man, it's found out. Humanity attempt to get me out is supported by the kind of confused. In that situation, they had an agreement to fight me. I was unfairly treated. I still support the president. A minister of state who the president informed that after 90 days, we need to have a conversation with Zago. He said, well, after 90 days, no one say anything to me. I think Unity Party have been so disingenuous. Unity Party have been so insensitive. Unity Party have been so unfair to others who have helped them. They feel more entitled. You notice when there's an issue affecting a Unity Party person in the government, it is resolved easily among themselves. But when you're not Unity Party person, so quickly an action is taken. My only action was just so quick. I felt that justice was not done to me. I felt I put in too much, sacrifice too much to have the likes of Kofi who behave the way they behave. Because there was too much of conspiracy. So they see Jabo Amon Zago as a formidable force. My research has shown.
He's the former Commissioner General of the Liberia Immigration Service, Steve Zago. They're speaking on the local radio in Vonchima, Lofa County. The Vice President for Technical Services at the National Oil Company of Liberia says the country needs institutional builders that will build the country and institution through education and ideas. Rick Bazigia emphasized that the need for Liberia to invest in its human capital, particularly the younger generation, to secure a prosperous future for the country. According to him, the strength of any country lies in its people, and Liberia is no exception, but urged them to invest in the youth and prepare them to become professionals who will transform the country. Here now is Rick Bazigia.
Today has laid the bricks of discipline, curiosity, and commitment to learning. Those bricks are the very materials with which you will build your homes of purpose, your careers to impact you, your livelihood to help your parents, and engage in the many important things out there. Your path from today forward will be shaped by courage, your curiosity, and the choices you made. Our country, Liberia, needs builders, men and women, to build our institutions and build ideas and integrity. Where I work at the National Oil Company of Liberia, we recognize extractive mines and mines of the nation's wealth unless we first invest in developing the potential of many of you. That's why we celebrate the institutions like the Kula Foundation for building the lives and your careers. Stand beside you in this moment of pride, because the real resources, the true wealth of Liberia is gathered here in this room today. To the Kula Foundation and the leadership, I applaud you, Mr. CEO, and your co-workers for building not just a school, but a sanctuary where young Liberians grow into principled leaders. To the parents, God given, thank you for standing behind these scholars with steadfast love, commitment, and sacrifice. And to all of us gathered here today, let us not be the end of the school year that brings you by. The mission to nurture brilliance should be ours, uphold ethics should be ours, and inspire the kind of leadership that Liberia deserves.
Also speaking, Chief Executive Officer of the Kola Foundation, Martin Kola, urged parents to instill moral discipline and values in their children, stressing that character formation begins at home. Kola noted that children are investments of their parents, and as such, parents should not fail to discipline and guide them. He warned that the future of Liberia is at a crossroad, calling on both parents and institutional educational institutions to play their roles in shaping the next generation, maintaining that the better and brighter Liberia starts with discipline, moral integrity, and education.
You need to be disciplined and listening to your parents. I appreciate you parents for taking up your time in this very difficult time to support your children. It is a challenge that all of us have to make Liberia better. Liberia will never get better if we don't make some efforts and send our children to school and discipline them at a rehabilitation center. And you see young girls, young boys, children, all on drugs. And you know that our population is going down the drain, and the future of our country is hanging in the balance. Until we make some effort to keep our children closer to us, send them to school, keep them under discipline, we ourselves will not have a future. Because your children are your investment. We are doing a lot here as a foundation. I'm not the one running the school or the activities here. We are doing supervision. I want to thank the team, Pastor Waka and his team, doing what is right to give Liberia a better future.
He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Kola Foundation, Martin Kola. They're speaking earlier. You listened to Rick Basigia, Vice President for Technical Services at the National Oil Company of Liberia. Indeed, if you just join us, as a reminder, you are in tune to King's Newsroom, 45 minutes of accurate, balanced, incredible news about Liberia and the rest of our one world. Today is Wednesday, July 30, 2025. I'm Cornelius Johnson presenting. Story topping the headlines. Information Minister Jalime Pia warned citizens against ungodly acts and alcohol drinking. Doings today, National Fasting and Praying Day, says the day must be used to reflect and pray for the nation. Several tricyclists and motorcyclists across Montserrat backed protests of dozens of commercial drivers against alleged police unnecessary ticketing and government 25 years due, with Liberia Traffic Management Motorcyclists and Tricyclists Union Chairperson Ansu Zeze accuses police officers of harassment. Authorities of Guinea reportedly banished scores of Liberians for alleged refusal to accept Guinean citizenship. Away from Liberia, U.S. singer Ciara has become one of the first public figures to be granted citizenship of Benin on a new law offering nationality to the descendants of slaves. And police in Angola say 4 people have been killed and 500 have been arrested after demonstrations in the capital, Luanda. We take another break. When we come back, we'll bring you more developments on the program. Thanks for being there and welcome back. Today's development now, authorities of Guinea has reportedly banished several persons believed to be Liberians from the country over claims of refusing to accept Guinean citizenship. The banished individuals are said to be found across villages and towns in Lofa County. On Tuesday, they told local journalists that although they have lived in Guinea for more than 2 decades, they were forced by the country authorities to leave and resettle in Lofa County. One of the returnees, named Emmanuel Johnson, disclosed that several other people have been compelled to leave the country after establishing strong roots, including owning farms and businesses.
They will be aware of it. We will try to find out why these people have been deported. Well, the way I'm sitting here, really, I'm not feeling fine. But the way I left, it was very bad, and I think in a deplorable condition. I'm happy. I'm a call to the Liberian government. It's only we want to see UHR for our problem to be forward. The problem I'm telling you is that it's a protection problem. It can't be disclosed yet. You are journalists. Or secret something that it cannot be disclosed, but it cannot be disclosed to you. How they wanted it. It is not poisonous. Why you love? I don't love that.
No, but what make it happen?
They know the reason why they choose integration, and they know the reason why they repatriate at that time. There are no my reason why I'm still sitting here waiting for them.
I'm Joseph Managua. What took me to Guinea is the uprising that took place in Liberia. 2000, if I'm mistaken, I'm 32 years in. Thank you. I left Liberia 2002. Yes, of course. I saw them working in our midst in Guinea. Okay, at the time this exercise was taking place, at the time I was not ready to return home.
As the International Maritime Organization prepares for what is believed to be a critical council elections in December, Liberia permanent representative to the IMO, Ambassador Robert Quadras, says Liberia needs the support of fellow IMO member states to secure a seat for another 2-year term. In an interview Tuesday, Ambassador Quadras reaffirmed the country's readiness to retain its seat, highlighting diplomatic achievements, regional leadership, and the strategic role of maritime governance in global trade. He described the country's re-election campaign launched in May as immensely successful, citing robust turnout from member states' ambassadors and maritime trade stakeholders.
Ready and prepared. As you know, December this year, we will be going for election to retain our seat at council. We've launched our campaign bid in May. It was well attended. I think the DNU's took a life to Liberian people. It was attended by member states, other ambassadors, other permanent rep. I have managed, with the support of my team, to enhance our relationship with member states, individually and collectively. Sometimes you see me do these regular bilateral meetings. Liberia is very strong. Liberia is very vibrant at the IMO. And I can say to you, we are back. Our reputation is intact. Our representation is very qualitative, very, 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 very buoyant and strong. And with the help of my team, we're doing quite a fantastic job. Well, first this year, we go to re-election, retain the seat for the next 2 years. That's very important because, you see, global maritime is a very essential sector of the global sector of the world. It accounts for close to 90% of global trade and commerce. You cannot move goods and services, especially goods and supplies, anywhere around the world, goods and supplies anywhere around the world without vessels, without ship. So take for instance Liberia. Rice is a staple. To get the quantity of rice that you need here, you must ferry them. You must transport them in ship. To get petroleum here and goods here in your shops, you need ship. So that happens all around the world. That makes global shipping, international shipping, a very critical, vital, important, significant sector. All right. Now, it wields a lot of power because it wields economic power, and because it wields economic power, it also wields international political power. All right, where international relations come to the fore. And so, being on the council at category A level, it strategically position Liberia in what we call global international relations, discussion, put her in a firm position to present our case, to influence international maritime decision as we're doing currently, and to be able to represent the rest of the other countries of the world. Being the only African country at category A, Liberia also carry on their shoulder the burden of Africa, and we are not letting the continent down. As we represent Liberia, we represent the continent at category A, because Liberia is the only country in that room at that level having discussions of such. So pretty much a lot is being done.
Meanwhile, Ambassador Quadras disclosed that Liberia is expected to host the International Maritime Organization Council Regional Summit, which, according to him, brings together over 40 African nations from September 30 to October 4, 2025. Ambassador Quadras described the hosting opportunity as a direct outcome of Liberia's strengthening global representation and consistent demonstration of leadership within the maritime sector.
Ready and prepared. As you know, this year, Liberia will proudly host the 8th AMA Summit. When we went to the 7th AMA Summit in Dar es Salaam, because of the representation that we made, and because of the way we present ourselves, and the way we comport ourselves, and the way Liberia continued to demonstrate leadership at the global level, we were chosen to host the 8th AMA Summit. The 8th AMA Summit will see over 40 African countries. A summit in Liberia. It's going to be a very massive conference, maybe second to the OU conference in 1979. 40 countries coming here. What we're going to do, discuss the future of maritime as it relates to Africa. How can we harness our potential collectively as a continent? How can we convert our water resources into economic benefits for our peoples in Africa? How can we provide jobs through our water resources, the blessing, the endowment of the water, the sea, the ocean, the riverbanks, the lakes? How can we mobilize investment in the sector? How can we begin to transform our blue economy to economic blessings for our people? So the conference is going to be held from the 30th of September to the 4th of October. We will be honored to have President Boyka give the opening remarks. We're going to have a lot of international guests here. There will be opening remarks by the IMO Secretary General, His Excellency Arsenio Dominguez. He's going to be here. There's going to be heavy power delegation from IMO, from the EU, and other places.
He's Robert Quadet, Liberia's permanent representative to the International Maritime Organization. They're speaking. Today's development now, the executive director of the National Rehabilitation for Drugs and War-Affected Persons has forwarded a couple to the West Point Magisterial Court for allegedly giving a dangerous substance identified as Kuch to a 19-year-old boy, which resulted to his death. Retired Colonel Augustine Nangwe told reporters that through the assistance of residents, he apprehended the couple identified as Jerry Colley and Titi Cephas after they have drugged the victim, identified as Freedom Jalai, to a popular ghetto known as Trenchtown located at the PHP. According to him, based on his security background, he was tipped off and rushed to the scene and later apprehended the couple.
These are the people killing the Joe with the kush. The boy want to change car to go with a friend. Then they say they're selling kush. The boy inside house. He's in the living room. And the woman say in a room. And they get about the kush and kill people. They call it sparking kush. They get about the kush and they live with them. They get one unconscious. They put the boy in the cricket. Try to kill about hospital nowhere. And the boy die in the cricket with a rubber. Kelly Hospital. Kelly Hospital said we free the boy. So we get out of the boy because the boy would die. So they brought the boy now. Then the other man called Ras Kama. Said, "Oh boy in town." So Ras Kama went to the mall and called a group. I had a pair of them and they invited me. I said, I will carry them to the police. There's a 19 years old boy. Bianco called a play 3-star. And these guys need to be prosecuted. They need to be prosecuted.
Away from Liberia now, U.S. singer has become one of the first public figures to be granted citizenship of Benin under a new law offering nationality to the descendants of slaves. In an Instagram post, the Grammy Award winner said she was honored, adding that, "Thank you, Benin, for opening your arms and heart to me. The citizenship scheme is part of an initiative by the small West African country to build ties with the African diaspora and boost cultural tourism. Sierra, known for R&B and pop hits such as Goodies and One Two Step, officially became a citizen at the ceremony in the city of Cotonou. And police in Angola say 4 people have been killed and 500 have been arrested after demonstrations in the capital, Luanda. What began as a 3-day strike by taxi drivers against rising petrol prices has escalated in one of the most widespread and disruptive waves of protest the country has seen in recent years. Thousands of people joined the demonstrations in the capital that saw roadblocks, shops looted, cars destroyed, as well as clashes between demonstrators and police. Since Monday night, there have been reports of gunfire in parts of the capital. To end this news, let's recap the headlines. Information Minister Jeremy Pia warns citizens against ungodly acts and alcohol drinking during today's National Fasting and Praying Day, says that they must be used to reflect and pray for the nation. Several tricyclists and motorcyclists across Montserrat backed protests of dozens of commercial drivers against alleged police unnecessary ticketing and government 25 years due with Liberia Traffic Management. Motorcyclists and Tricyclists Union Chairperson Ansu Zeze accuses police of harassment. Authorities of Guinea reportedly punished schools of Liberians for alleged refusal to accept Guinean citizenship. Away from Liberia, U.S. singer Ciara has become one of the first public figures to be granted citizenship of Benin under a new law offering nationality to the descendants of slaves. And police in Angola say 4 people have been killed and 500 have been arrested after demonstrations in the capital, Luanda. Many thanks to all of our contributors, editors, and reporters who helped in making this edition of King's Newsroom a success. Join us this afternoon at 1 p.m. for another edition of King's Newsroom. On behalf of the entire team, my name is Cornelius Johnson. I presented. Many thanks for listening and watching. Good morning.